everybody, Percita, and this is Percita's Paradox. So here we are. It is Tuesday, new week, feeling good, coming off of a beautiful opening emotional place on last week, allowing ourselves to feel and go through whatever it was that we were going through and is possibly still going through. And just really trying to make things work, right? Just really trying to get our emotions back to where we need them to be, because we know emotions are just that. Emotions, they come, they go, they're fleeting. They're very, 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 very mischievous. So we want to take our time with those and really be conscious of what we're doing and feeling at all times. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you today, and I appreciate your time. And if you are an OG, you already know I so appreciate your support. I appreciate you commenting. I appreciate you sharing. And I just appreciate everything about you and that you come to this channel day in, day out, Tuesdays and Thursdays, week after week. So again, let me stop and say thank you. So today I really wanted to just kind of get back into the groove of trying to walk through this minutia called life and really put ourselves in a perspective of just figuring out what we can do from now this point of, okay, we've let our feelings go. Now what are we doing? And what I think we could really discuss today is just the premise of being courageous enough to allow ourselves freedom. And what I mean by that is that so many times in our situations and just our everyday circumstances, we find ourselves staying in things just a little too long. And we chunk it up to so many things. I mean, I've discussed it on the channel previously where we're talking about loyalty, we're talking about time with people and just expectations and just, all of the things that we literally justify ourselves in doing it. But what I understand more and more is that there is a sense of freedom that comes from being courageous enough to just be okay with being okay. And what I mean in that is that it doesn't necessarily have to be something that we have to just stay in just to stay. I mean, it's completely outdated, right? I mean, we know this is like last season's drama, or it's been going on so often that, you literally can almost pinpoint the specifics of it down to like the conversation or the outcome or how the attitude of a person would be or not be, or, how you're going to really respond in whatever that part of the attitude of the person is. You just know it all. And you know it all because you've literally experienced it over and over and over again. And you don't really know why you're continuously staying in it. It's just now just become familiar. And it's just become this thing of that you're now just too scared to move. And you don't really recognize that you're too scared to move until you really stop and ask yourself, what about this am I not understanding will not change? And that could be the way that you feel about a situation. It could be the innocence of you just not being willing to forgive yourself because it's easier to put yourself down. It could be anything, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's just some sense of telling yourself you're working on it, or telling yourself, I'm really going to get on it, or I'm better than I was yesterday. I get it. Again, we've talked about this, but today, what I'm really, really trying to point out to you is that it really takes a serious level of courageousness to stop what you're doing when you know that it's not working. When you know that there's just no way for it to reinvent itself or change or divert or have a different perspective or outlook. And there's a sense of freedom that comes with that we just don't really discuss. I mean, we talk about it in the sense of like age, right? I mean, I've always noted when I was younger, I thought 40 was like decrepit. I don't know about you, but I remember going like, oh my God, they're 40. And now in my late 40s, I'm looking at people like, hey, back it up. I'm not quite that old. But in the same breath, I've had enough life in my experiences to understand that I just really don't need to be in a space of the continuous drama that I can control. And what I'm saying is that I've always thought it was interesting that as we get older, it's expected for us to just kind of become blunt, right? It's actually a kind of a faux pas to say, oh, well, so and so is, over 50, over 60, or they're at that age where they just say whatever it is they want to say. And what I recognize is that why is it that we feel like we have to wait till we get to that age to do it? Now, I know there's going to be some people who say, like, well, because you have to have life and you have to have the experiences of life. And sometimes, the know-it-alls in their early 20s and 30s don't really know anything. That's true. I absolutely agree with that part of the statement, but there's more to that would unravel for you to still understand the things you do know in your 20s and 30s. You still don't want to actually change or do anything different because you've just grown, not even complacent, because that's something to easily say, but you've grown in this familiarity that it's just too scary. Let's say that. It's too scary to change. So the courageousness that I'm talking about is what you need to gain access to the freedom of being your true authentic self, which is why we say as you get older, the person doesn't really care about what they're saying, because the more that they've started to live, they've started to understand more and more, I should say, that it really doesn't matter what other people are thinking or what other people are going through or what other people are saying. It really is about them. And they are in a space of almost a place of selfishness, if we could say it from that level of like, I'm just going to be me. And being me is all I can be. And that's what I know I'm best at, is being me. And this is what it is. So they find themselves just really being blunt, to be honest. And we call it blunt because it really is just a self-serving scenario. Now, in that, it's not where you want to be, someone that's just, kind of like brutal and mean and, disconnected from people to the degree that you're not conscious of what people could possibly be feeling. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that I find it interesting that you still want to be in a space where you understand that it's really a courage that you have to change, because change really is not easy. And we say it, and I've said it in like multiple videos, that it takes so much for you to really change, but really, to be honest, it actually takes nothing. It just takes you to change. It's just gonna not feel good, right? It's just not going to be in a space of like, it really is a perfect time or a perfect anything. It just requires you to change. It's like if you want something, you just have to do something different. And it's so hard for us to really understand that. But in that understanding is a freedom that I'm hoping that we all start to grasp, that we really want to experience. The freedom is what I now understand that the older individual has to speak what they think and what they want and to quote unquote be blunt. It's the freedom. It's not even necessarily anything more than just the simple fact that they just are not in a space of trying to decipher it for everyone to understand or comprehend it. I mean, when you can actually grasp this concept in your early 20s, let's just say that. I mean, you're a cold piece of work. And what I mean by that is that a lot of us talk about, all the things that we want to do and change and falling forward and failing forward and still getting back up and recreating ourselves. But truthfully, there's very few people in the world that are willing to do that. No one really wants to do anything negative in front of people, even though we should all understand at this point that people are going to talk about you even if everything in your life would be on the positive side. People just talk. That's just what they do. It's the way that we are made. I'm saying they as if I'm not people. It's just what we do. We all have an opinion. We all feel like we should be able to share it. We all feel like we should be able to share it at liberty at any given moment. So we just do that. The hardest part about what I'm saying is really understanding how to decipher how you feel in someone else's feelings. Meaning, have you ever been around someone and someone said something to you and you didn't feel the same way they felt at all? I mean, like literally, you felt nothing of it. But they were so convincing. They were so on point on what they were saying that you found yourself second guessing what it is that you had already told yourself that you believed, to the degree that you then have jumped on board with them. Even as you're telling yourself that you've jumped on board with whatever they are saying in their opinion, you're still in this disdainment with yourself of like, girl or guy, whatever. That's not what I believe. But it just seems to make sense. Have you ever rationalized with yourself so long that you literally are looking for it to make sense instead of understanding it just may not at all? That's exactly what I'm saying. When you're walking in this place of freedom, and the freedom again comes from you having the courage to just not be caught up on if it makes sense. Plenty of things in life make sense that aren't true. Plenty. Plenty. And I know that's a funny statement to make, but really understand what I'm saying. Plenty of things make sense, meaning when someone would, let's just say, kill someone because they killed someone that they love, so they felt like they were killing them out of revenge. That makes sense. You completely understand the logic. Still not good, which would make it not true. It does not mean that it's something that needs to actually happen, even though you can rationalize it. We have a tendency as just being people that we are looking for the rational sense of everything. If a person breaks up with you, it's like a lot of us still need the understanding and the explanation, even though after you've gotten the explanation, it's still not relevant. And you still find yourself picking that explanation apart because it's still not true, right? It's their logic. It's true to them. And you still don't believe it because it's not true to you. So if you catch what I'm saying, it's very hard to walk through life and really be in a space of agreement. It's just complicated. You can get 2 to 3 people in the room at the same time. And initially going in, everyone agreed on one thing. I promise you, within 5 minutes, there will be a disdainment because someone or several people in that scenario will not agree on the same thing they just said that they agreed upon when they entered the space. Because what I'm trying to explain to you is that we actually do not have the capacity to really relate completely on any level. Everyone still has their own angle and their own perspective. So when you say to yourself, then what is the courage that you need for the freedom in order to give yourself the ability to be you? It's for you to understand that you're just you and there's only you. There is no other you. There is no one else that can be you but you. And that understanding is the freedom to have the courage to walk out of anything that is not serving you. That is what it is. It is very complicated to figure out what that formula looks like because it's different for everyone. Even though from any scientific perspective, 99.9% of us are all made up the exact same way. There's absolutely nothing about us that would be different. And that is the exact percentage. 99.9%. Not quite sure what happened to that other little 0.5% or 0.1%, but that's the perspective. And what I'm trying to say is if that be true, then you would think that we would all collectively agree and we could all collectively then work together within whatever it is, but we can't. And because we can't, we still don't have an idea on when to really move or not move. We still don't have an idea on what's dated and what's not dated. And we all seem to have some sense, well, let me backtrack and say, I wouldn't say we all do, but there's a large majority of people in this world who really want to see things through to the end. To the degree that you've prided yourself on saying that you like to see things through to the end. And what if I was the person that said to you today that some things you're not supposed to see through to the end? Some things you actually have to see and move through and away from while you see it burning. You cannot go down with the ship or go down with the building with everything and everyone. And I think that's the part that it gets really complicated on, because how do you decipher that? I'm starting to understand the only way to truly decipher that statement is to actually be authentic to myself and to have the courage in order to walk away from things that I can completely feel like do not serve me, and then allow myself the freedom to not feel guilty about any of it. Now, I gave you all of that, and I'm still going to ask you, do you feel as if that is something that you can do? I'm going to absolutely answer you as if you answered me and say, of course you can. Now, do you want to? Will it be easy? Is it going to be something that you really enjoy? No. Are you going to piss off people and put yourself in a position where people want to judge you? Yes. But let me be the first to tell you that they were already judging you before you even made any of these accounts for yourself. But notice how this entire conversation is about me trying to save you. because I can't worry about saving anyone else. I can only worry about the people who are on this channel wanting the information to save themselves. Even if you're on a flight and the flight was going down, instantaneously they tell you in the directions of the oxygen to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you help others, because it's so key for you to do that. And to be perfectly honest with you, when you allow yourself the freedom, because you've given yourself the ability to utilize the courage that is within us all to just be authentically yourself and to understand what is serving you and not serving you, regardless to what it will feel like for other people, you cause people to love you better, and you cause yourself to love them better, because everything is walking in a true, authentic place. No expectation, no resentment, no attitude, no undermining, nothing, no envy, no jealousy, because you feel like, there's enough. There's enough to go around. It's like going to a buffet in life instead of feeling like you're literally going to a place where they serve plates. And you know that they could possibly be in a position where you might not get a seat and you might not be able to actually eat. But if you're at a buffet and the buffet is endless and it's just continuously being replenished, then you're not quite as forced to feel the emotion of what about me and I'm not going to get it, and what if it runs out, and what if I don't see it when I'm supposed to see it. You just believe that there's still room and everything will happen for you in its proper time. So today, I just wanted to just really come on board and just say, are you courageous enough to allow yourself the freedom to know that you don't have to see everything to the end? Some things you really do have to simply assess fast and move quickly, and be okay with moving quickly, regardless of how it feels to others. You have to save yourself. You have to move in a manner where it's you first. Not to be hurtful, not to do it maliciously, not to attack people, not to verbally abuse them, not to belittle them, not to talk about them to anybody else. These are all things that you do without any of that happening. You do not need to tell anyone that you're not messing or talking to, or you won't work with that person no more. Y'all ain't jive. That is really the part of this story. Let me make sure I say you do not need to do. You only need to handle the premise of working it out for you to be okay in the situation. So don't backbite, right? Don't talk about people. Don't really put yourself in a position where you need to do all of those things. You can move in a manner that does not require any of those things. So let me make sure I say that also. But I am still telling you that in the end, you want to make sure that you are not staying in outdated things, and that you are going to use the courage that you have inundated in your spirit to give yourself the freedom to live. Because that's what we're doing. We're talking about living. And this is what it takes to live. And live abundantly. So hopefully that helped you today. Hopefully you're feeling, motivated to get up and try to start in some part of your life. It might be something minute, but start. We've gone through every genre I can possibly think of to give you great examples. If you can think of some more, hit me in the comments. If not, always remember, no matter what, I'm always striving for you to do 3 things. Live life authentic. Live life authentic. No matter what, do that. If you do, I promise you, happiness is literally right in your face. And you will be able to do nothing but be in a happy, peaceful, loving space. So as usual, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you. Remember, hit the notification button, subscribe if you're feeling this video or any other video, and make sure that you share as much as you possibly can. As always, thank you so much. I will see you on Thursday, and have a good day. Bye-bye.